mangroves in the world. But what makes our mangroves different?
Well, we get 3 types of mangroves here. There's 50 around the world, but the 3 types that we get here are really important to Florida. So they're similar to the other mangroves around the world because they grow in salt water, which is what makes them special. Even though they need fresh water, they're adapted to this environment. But they're the same types, they're just, these ones are adapted in a special way. Like we have ones that have little snorkels that stick up out of the water to help them breathe, even when the water's really low, which is cool, which is their way. We have other ones that absorb salt and then excrete it or get rid of it on top of their leaves. So they're still mangroves, they're still similar to the ones found in different parts of the world. They just have different ways of living in our area here.
So how do their seeds fall into the ocean?
It depends on the type of mangrove. The most common one that we have here is the red mangrove. That's a really big one that has the roots that stick out like little props, like stilts almost. Those ones, when they fall off, they look like these long little pencil things. People call them sea pencils. When they fall off, they float in the ocean for up to a year until they find a place that they want to root and become a tree. So when they fall off, they're already able to feed themselves and be on their own.
Why do they call Florida's mangroves the walking trees?
That's because of those roots that stick out. Because they stick out of the water, it kind of looks like they're walking away as they're partly out of the water. So it's just a funny name to remember their type of stilt roots.
Live in the mangroves.
Lots of animals. We have sharks, we have stingrays, we have tons of fish, we have little crabs and snails, algae, plants. Literally most everything we can find in the ocean starts off as a baby and has to live in a shallow area. So they can live in mangroves temporarily until they're big enough to protect themselves. So almost all the different types of things you'll find in the ocean, you can find inside the mangroves themselves. Well, with their roots, the big prop ones, like the walking trees we were talking about before, their roots stick into the sand and they actually keep the sands from mixing up with waves and things like you see on the beaches, why it's such a flat, smooth slope. So having their roots in it, it actually keeps, every time we get a big storm, it's holding all that sand together, so it's not letting it erode away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They're kind of like a shield. So when they get hit by hurricanes and storms and things, they kind of protect all the plants and things behind them from those strong winds, and then they actually hold together the beaches itself. Well, mangroves are important for a lot of different reasons. They're important for the animals that live inside of them that might not have another place to go. Like there's lots of fish and things that live only inside of mangroves. So if we didn't have them, they wouldn't have a place to go. They're also important because they hold together Florida during big storms and things like that. And because they're one of the few plants that are in the ocean that can actually handle the salt water. So we should protect them.
So, why does it live in water?
Why does it live in water? Well, all plants need water. So the ones that have the ability to live in water, they're able to constantly drink as much as they want. But being able to live in salt water is something unique. They don't need the salt. They actually have to adapt to keep the salt out of the tree itself. So some trees work like Brita filters. They keep most of the salt and things from ever getting inside of it, while as others take all the salt in and then just let it come out on the bottom of their leaves. So different ways of being able to handle it.
How many years have mangroves been around in Key Biscayne?
In Key Biscayne, I'm not sure how long they've been in the state itself. They've been recording mangroves and the importance of them since the 1920s. They've been talking about how we need to preserve them and just how there's been such a drastic loss of mangroves in the last 100 years. But the island itself, I'm not sure how long they've been here.
Mangroves drink salt water.
Well, they don't need the salt water. What they're doing is they're keeping the salt out. They have to find one of their different adaptations to help them do it. So black mangroves, they soak up all of the salt and then they'll excrete it on the bottom, whereas red mangroves, what salt does accidentally get through their roots, which are kind of like a filter, anything that does get in, they'll put it all onto one leaf on the tree, and they call that the sacrificial leaf. So if you ever look at a red mangrove, every so often you'll see a very bright yellow leaf that isn't green like all the other ones. That's one leaf that the tree has chosen to put all of the salt and chemicals that it doesn't need, and that leaf will die for the benefit of the tree.
How the mangrove seeds fall into the ocean? Because they take a year to go find all the places where they want to stay, and here are some growing right now. because other plants, if the salt water touches it, it dies. And this one is so beautiful that there is no fruit on mangroves. Because I see here no fruit. I just see like little root, poles, and that's all. These are the seeds that fall from the mangroves into the ocean and start forming one of these mangroves. We need the mangroves because when a storm comes, it would destroy the whole beach, almost the whole beach. And as you can see, there is so the beach. They're forming a little land